myself, I worked for the DNR for 28 years, and then I transferred over to the Department of Transportation. I worked in that building from 1970 onward. That building was built with the idea that it was going to be this architectural model that somebody's dream. They built a lot of these things across the state. They had concrete block walls with a brick facing on the outside. There wasn't any attempt at insulation. We had a beautiful plank roof with a 1-inch insulation in the ceiling. That was when fuel oil was 17 cents a gallon and nobody really minded paying for that. There was an attempt in the late 70s, early 80s to change how that worked to make it more efficient. They put in the walls, false walls on the inside, insulation, they insulated the roof, changed the furnaces, all stopgap measures. The building still was old. They needed extra space, they built a new addition. It was supposed to be top of the line construction at the time. Private contractors came in, put in this wonderful efficient heating system, cooling system. In order to get it to be 78 degrees upstairs, downstairs it was 60 degrees. It didn't work. They tried and tried and tried to fix that. Well, you know, that building is basically 45 years old, essentially, and it's time to move on. I mean, even the school systems recognize the fact that certain things you can't change, so you just have to build new. And as he said, you know, the system that is used to build state facilities, it's like a conveyor belt. You put your request in, and maybe 10 years later, this thing comes off the conveyor belt. It goes to the building commission. Whatever you estimated at the time has just gone crazy because building costs, labor costs, taxes, the whole thing is taxes on state buildings. But the idea is that what comes off the assembly line is a lot more expensive than what went in. So, you know, it's providing jobs for somebody to build the thing, and it's replacing an inefficient facility. So, in defense of the project, I think it's probably a good deal for the public. Now, as far as being open hours,
yeah, that's another issue. Yeah.
I don't know. That was an initiative by Tommy Thompson to make the DNR more responsive to the public, and there were frontline people that were hired, put in place, and with cost-cutting measures, everybody's got to cut.
With this, yeah, there's a lot of real eye openers. That document just came across my desk the other day. The building commission request for the next biennium, and it's like $1.5 billion or $3 billion over the biennium or something like that. And I'm like, oh my God! And that was where that $100 million request was for. And I think it's a big, cumbersome, inefficient way to do it. Because you still goes back to the same thing I said before. You've got somebody in Madison trying to design and construct and bid out buildings in Spooner, Wisconsin. You know, I think, and I go back to the same thing, I like the local controls. If you had the local officials here, even whether they be DNR officials, had the ability to get the bid out and do this and do that and construct from here, could probably do a far better job than a building commission in Madison, Wisconsin. And you're right, it's, you know, a 10-year conveyor belt. If this was a business, you couldn't afford to do that. You couldn't afford to do that. It has to be more efficient than that. It has to go faster, and it has to be more economical. So we tend to create these bureaucracies in the state, and that we have to get away from that.
I guess kind of along the same lines of what you're talking about, we built a new, here was our problem. We called it a garage for the forestry fire vehicles. The old building, you know, it wasn't even that old, but fit the size of trucks this big wouldn't fit in there. What are you going to do? We needed additional storage space anyway. We went through the process, and it took, I don't know, 18 years or whatever. But because of the system, and because we called it a garage, it was going to house vehicles, that to some engineer meant that people were going to be in there doing mechanical work, working on engines and stuff.
Oh boy.
So we had to have this big exhaust system for the vehicles. There's 3 stalls And if we had to have it, okay, well, let's just have one for one stall. But no, we had to have that for all three. And the years that building been up, and the 23 years I've worked there, I've never seen where we would use those. But yet, we had to have it. Other stations that maybe they've seen the light now, and they call it a cold storage building, basically what it is, they don't have to have that. And it's the system and things that were built into the system that, you know, and I wasn't involved in the planning process. It seems
That's the inefficiencies.
Hey, we're not doing mechanical work, and we don't need exhaust system that people aren't working with engines. You know,
That's where you get that disconnect between somebody in Madison and somebody in Spooner, and that's the problem. Yes.
This is not related, but I just wanted to make two quick comments. My first comment is there was some discussion here about taxes and how we like Wisconsin estate. It's inducive to getting people to come be here. And as a homeowner in Shell Lake, and I live on the lake, nobody wants to pay more taxes. But my big concern right now is we want to make sure we keep Wisconsin a friendly state. And as a young family coming in, I think I would really look at the educational system in our state, which has been a big draw. Wisconsin's always been known for having a real solid school district. I guess I would like to make sure that we continue to put our emphasis on education and not necessarily worry. And I know it's a concern for a lot of people, but somehow make there be a point where we can spend our dollars in a way that is beneficial to our students, but at the same time hopefully keep our costs in check. And I don't want to see our school system get shoved to the side in an effort to keep our taxes. That's just a real important concern for me. I don't have any kids. I have no grandkids. But I want to make sure our state stays as a
Absolutely.
leader in
And
education.
I do have 6 children, and I do have 9 grandchildren. I got one more on the way.
It's a concern.
And
It's a
that's
concern.
very
And there are some things that are happening now in Spooner, with some cuts that are being made to education. I understand things need to be changed, but I want to make sure that the emphasis that I think people should be aware of this. It's not necessarily on making all these cuts to education. That's my
Yep.
personal comment. The other thing I want from you is I would like you to explain why police and firefighters are not included in that legislation.
Yes, and that right off the bat struck me as not being something I would have done. And I actually talked to Scott about it. And his justification, his rationale is they're our first responders. And I was a firefighter for 21 years, so I'm very familiar with what they do, and I'm very familiar. I was a volunteer, so I didn't have a lot of money, but his response was that they are our first responders. If for any reason there was say a work stoppage over this budget repair bill, we have to have police, we have to have fire. If the fire didn't show up and a building was burning down and somebody dies within that building, he didn't want to take that risk. Is it correct? Should it have been done that way? I'll be perfectly honest with you. I probably would have took that risk with some assurances from the police and fire that they were going to go show up and do their job. But that's not what Scott did. And did it cause controversy? Yeah, it did.
Was there a lot of discussion about that? Because I know things
Yes, there was.
happen quickly, and I'm wondering how the senators that were there voted on that, or how they felt about that. And did you express your opposition to that?